Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on September 4th, 2023 at approximately 4:28 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind you that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I built myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life, and the philosophies of life I talk about are the precise philosophies I guide my life by. And before we go any further here, we have Steve Knox. You are. Nothing like getting myself sidetracked right off the bat. Steve Knox, you are in the house with the gold. Chad Smith, you are in with the silver. And let us just go back up here. Whoop, scroll down. And Chad, where are we? Chad, you have the silver here. Yeah, that worked well. We can see the computer's going to cooperate today. So, if you'd be kind enough, people, to drop in, give him a listen. This is linked to Chad's live stream. Give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, absolutely give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of the thing. And in with the bronze, we have Nathan with the Quantum Show. And this is the link to Nathan's live stream. And again, drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, do give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of the thing. Because the reality is, it is by working with each other that we can actually turn things around. Okay, and we can actually make this world a better world for virtually everybody. There are certain to be people that do not like this approach. Because some of the people out there have this brilliant idea that they are actually better than everybody else. Frankly, I'm not one of them. Now we have Eternity Eternal in with honorable mention. Now just remember, everybody that comes into this room is, spiritually speaking, of equal value. Okay? Not a one of us in this room, myself included, is any better than the next. And this is the thing that we have to remember, because we are all literally on the same path. We are right here, right now. And this is where the world changes. Not 6 months down the road, not 2 years ago when you should have done something, when you think you should have done something, you had an opportunity and you put it aside because on a whim, life got in the way. Maybe your health took a little bit of a hiccup. Maybe society got in the way. There's any number of reasons for it. All in all, you're still right here, right now. Now, here's a question for you. Why are you on your current path? Okay. And anybody wants to pop in with the path they are with a think first. If any one of you would like to pipe in and say, this is what I'm up to, okay, by doing so, all it does is it makes it that much more of a real commitment to yourself. Not to me. I mean, let's face it, and not to anybody else in here. But let's face it. Okay, whether you succeed or you don't, from a practical standpoint, doesn't really have a direct bearing on anybody else in this room. Okay, whether I succeed or not does not have a practical bearing, except for the point, and this applies to all of us. Okay, if you go, I'm going to accomplish this. Okay, and people are listening to you. Okay, people hear you say, this is what I'm going to accomplish. Then they can look at you and go, hey, you made this commitment to yourself. Okay, years ago when I was in grade 10, I was told by my English teacher at that point that I would make my money writing. Well, the reality is, at this point, I have not. However, what I have done is because at that same point, I turned around. Whoops, let's get that out of the way before I hurt myself. At that same point, I looked at my English teacher and I showed her a storyline. It was part of an English project. We were told, write a storyline. So I wrote a storyline. And with a few minor adjustments to it, if you look in the back of this book, of the Birth of the Wolf Pack, in the back of it, I'm pretty certain it's Appendix 1. I'm just going to scan to the back here just on principle. Chapter 30, Chapter 31. There we go. Okay. Actually, it's not even listed as an appendix. It's literally Yldrbac, the story. Aside from a very few minor changes in the original writing, I actually put down the number of years. And I decided to change it just for a more, shall we say, a more concise method. Okay, a little less numerical method. Because if I go right back to the beginning here, what I've done is for many years instead of for X number of years. Okay, but I made a commitment to myself back in grade 10. I was going to get this story in print. Well, book 1, book 2, technically, well, literally, book 10 in the saga, book 11 in the saga. Okay, now, with this in mind, I am on the path I'm on to build a publishing company, partly because of the fact that every person I've dealt with, every publishing company I've dealt with, essentially has completely dropped the ball. Okay, they have essentially taken the idea of here's my dream. They've given me all kinds of promises of what they would do. I'm not going to promise you guys a thing. I'm going to simply tell you, and you get to figure out whether or not it happens. But I'm at this point in my life, in large part, due to the encouragement of the people, of those of you that are from Spaced Out Radio originally, sitting there for, well, realistically, 6 years. Okay. I've been doing this since March 6th of 2021. I went live onto doing videos. Okay. Now that means 2 years. Okay. Now here's the thing. I've been with Spaced Out Radio, okay, for the last 8 years, which means 6 years of you guys really pushing for me to go live, for me to do my own videos. Okay. In the 7th year, approximately, okay, pretty close to right on the money in all fairness, 7 in universal numerology being the number of self-awareness. I lit the camera up for the first time. Now here I am 2.5 years later. Okay, and I've got 2.5 years behind me. I have no idea how many videos I've done. Well, yeah, I really do. Or I could look it up anyway. But I ended up putting the Yldrbacian Chronicles together. And let's get these out of the way because it just dawned on me they're a pain in the neck to find. So I pull them all out of the way. Take this stuff, move it to there, and now it's good. And now I can get these ones. Okay. My English teacher back in grade 10 said, you're going to make your money writing. Here I am, 40 years after that, and I've got 8 books in print. This is why I'm at this point in my life. Okay, in large part because of what she did. Okay, now, in all fairness, it was encouragement on her part. Now, I just got to double check because I missed a few people, obviously. I get going on a ramble and all of a sudden we have a problem. And Joe, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And we have Yldrbac. Glad to see you here. Now let's just see what we're missing before I keep going down a very simple road. Okay. Oh, there we are. Nathan is sharing with us. Current path seems to be to bring the light technology for people that can do themselves, then wake us up. Whoa, sorry, my apologies. Help wake us up. Yo, Nathan, the funny thing is you got some incredible understanding and some phenomenal drive on how to do things. I really do. I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with the information we've been discussing. And we have, okay, Steve. First step, the first step to building a publishing company is actually pretty cut and dried. The first step is deciding, number one, you're building one. Number two, you've got to look in the mirror and go, okay, take a look at all the publishing companies out there. Pick one, don't care. Okay, any one of the publishing companies out there. Pick one and ask yourself, what makes them better than you? Okay, or are they better than you? What is the difference? For instance, what is the difference between you and the head and the leader of your industry? But that's the first thing you do. Then you decide, okay, take a look at what you know. In my case, I looked at the publishing companies and talked to a staggering number of authors, artists, and when I mean artists, I mean painting, drawing, sculpting. Talked to a staggering number of them, even body sculptors. And what I mean by a body sculptor is a body builder. Or there's one young lass that I've spoken to about her journey towards the MMA. This is again a form of body sculpting. Okay, but decide one thing. What, aside from experience, what do they have that you don't? Okay, well, aside from experience and money. Okay. Honestly, I don't know who NF is. Iwax is going, did you listen to NF yet? I honestly don't know who NF is. But I can answer the other question. Love does not require pain. Okay, I'm not sure who taught you that love requires pain, but let me paint a picture for you here. Okay, my parents. Okay, and yes, this may be a rarity. Okay, but my parents met in March of '56. In August of '56, 6 months later, I think it's 6. 5 months later, okay, they turned around and got married. Okay, now, after that, they lived under the same roof for 60 years. Okay, now, I never recall my parents ever fighting. I don't even, in all fairness, recall them ever arguing. Now, I did hear tale of Dad losing his temper once. Okay, but that's a whole different story. The fact of the matter is, from my standpoint, you do not require pain to enjoy love. You do not require failure to enjoy success. Now, that said, I've already been bankrupt twice. but you take a look at what you're up to, the path you're on. Okay, now I love the way, gotta think here, built the light bulb. I believe that was Edison. Okay, I'll get back to that thought in a second here. Nathan's just sharing with us, with all the details involved, it's going to take a while. All this advanced tech stuff. Some of it seems so basic, but the energies behind the obvious parts are astounding. Okay, now, that being said, Raven, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, the reality is it's the work behind the scenes that actually brings about the success. For me, I'm building an empire. I'm building a publishing company. What I've seen is that people, the publishing companies, the big ones, and some of the small ones, mind you, do not see people as people. They do not see their works, other people's works, as valuable. They go, oh, that means money to me. Okay, money has got to be the side effect, in my opinion, not the goal. Okay, now I'm looking at this goal that Nathan's got. Okay, I'm looking at this goal that Nathan's got. Okay, and yes, there's a staggering amount of stuff behind the scenes. Okay, well, I'm glad you're just kidding. Yo, I would love to I may one day. No, not I may. That funny little issue about about Darth Keith. The reality is and I'm going to go sideways on you. Okay, people keep talking about the bad side of a one world government. Well, let me ask you this: if said one world government includes the welfare of everybody, okay, is it a bad thing? A one world dictatorship is a massive problem. Okay, and by no means do I support a dictatorship. Okay, this is why I run into all kinds of neat little complications. But the path you're on, what is standing in your way? Okay, anybody guess what is standing in? This applies to each and every one of you. What is standing in your way of success? Okay, and I'll give you a hint. The same thing that's standing in your way is literally the same thing that is standing in each and every one of our ways. Every one of us have the exact same block. Okay. And this is what we're here to change. I'm not going to remove the block for you. You're not going to remove the block for me. Okay. But working together, we can come to understand what the block is and thereby put it behind us. Iowax is just adding, when I came into this realm, I was observed from the ground by locals, but they were gone by the time the survey began. Okay, well, let me try and reread that again. When I came into this realm, I was observed from the ground by the locals, but they were gone by the time the survey began. That's us, the bones. Ultimately, yes, but here's the funny thing. Okay, every one of us has a journey. We can do one of two things. We can do like the Kinlar and continue. Yeah, well, go talk to somebody else. Like I said, there's only 3 calls I answer, and 2 of them come from the front of my house right now. But okay, every one of us has the same path in a sense. Now, when you came to this realm, okay, one thing we all have to understand, whatever your memories are, okay, and some of you have memories about a former life, perhaps an off-world one. Okay, in this world, you're in a functionally human body. This is the world we have to look at. this is the one that you've got to pay attention to, because this is the one that's going to kill your physical body, or it's the one that's going to make it thrive. Okay, but when we take a look at the bones are the superstructure. Where you're standing right now, okay, where you're standing right now is where we start building. You've already got the skeletal system to build your own success story. I just noticed that, Joe's going, I'm not even going to go there about my parents fighting. I will tell you this. Here's an odd thought for you, Joe. Okay, and it's going to sound completely backwards in all likelihood, but I have counseled people well. I've counseled well in excess of 100,000 clients, not counting whoever is watching these videos. I'm talking one-on-one consultations. I have counseled in excess of 100,000 clients on two major factors. One, you're going to, the odds are parents are going to fight. Okay, Lord knows I used to fight with my ex. Okay, but they're going to fight. Now, the big mistake most parents make is let's not fight in front of the kids. I'm telling you, the kids are going to know about the fight anyway. Okay, whether it's an emotional fight, whether it's a fidelity fight, a financial fight, doesn't matter. The kids are going to know about it. Parents further compound the problem by not making up in front of the kids. Okay, they keep everything quiet. This is a bad move. Now, that said, okay, when I talk about making up, there's a very big difference between making up in front of your kids and making out in front of your kids. Okay, this is a fundamental necessity. I keep my I've got two boys, and I keep both of them and my other half. In all fairness, I also keep my ex in the loop of what's transpiring. Okay, but you are where you are. The one thing you got to remember, you'll notice, Joe, that even though your parents fought, there is still part of you that goes, but they're my parents. I am still going to do my best to stay connected. I made a mistake years ago and really left the connection between my brothers and I fall apart. Okay, I'm in the process of trying to put that back together. Now, I'm just looking at this. Iowax is going, it's an illusion until you leave. And when you do, you'll see the ritual sacrifices that happened as the cause of your appearance. At least you made it, though. Well, and in a lot of ways, that's very much right. Okay. So what we look at here is, there were complications. What you've been through has molded you into the person you are right now. Now it's time to take that strength, that focus, and make your dream, not your parents' dream. Because here's the unspoken dream most parents have. Even volatile, drug-addicted, alcoholic parents I've spoken to had the same dream, that their kids would do better than they did. Okay, and I know that's hard to believe. I know that all too well. I've seen so many things over my life. And yes, a lot of what I did, in all fairness, when you're talking to a spiritual guide, okay, when you're talking to a so-called psychic, okay, I will tell you this, they do not have all the answers, but 80 to 85% of what they tell you, in my experience, is common sense and life experience. Okay. It should be Friday. It's on the 8th. What is the 8th? No, well, That would be an interesting one there, Terry. And by the way, Terry, welcome aboard. I'm gonna have to catch up with Dave because my understanding was it was gonna be Friday, but we'll take a look. Dee, how you doing? Glad you could join us. But yes, the reality, the one certainty there, Terry, is I will be on Spaced Out Radio this weekend. Okay, I'll just get a hold of Dave and find out exactly which one. This is going to sound really rude, but Terry, it's a very viable question, one I've been asked a lot. Terry's just asking, Keith, do you think most people who say they are psychics are fake? Okay, and this is the blunt reality of it. I'm not going to, I am not going to give you names of the ones I think are the best. Okay, but here's the reality. Every single one of you, every one of you, whether you call yourself psychic or not, you all are. You're all born psychic. Those stillborn are just born with a little bit more psychic capacity and a whole lot less physical impact. Okay, but most of the people claiming to be psychic, number one, I wouldn't so much call them fake as many are misguided. And what I mean by that is they put themselves on a pedestal and go, I know better than you. This is going to happen. I have seen people, I've seen psychics, tell somebody this was what's going to happen or what is happening. And what it really boiled down to, what it really boiled down to was they had gone through a lot of trauma themselves and transposed it. Well, the net result of this one in particular was they told this young lass they were going to follow, and their marriage or their husband was cheating on them. And he was so emphatic about it, it led to familial discontent. Net result, a perfectly stable marriage, or an almost perfectly stable marriage, was torn apart by a so-called psychic. Now, do understand, this is why I keep telling people, when I say something, do not just take my word for it. Do your own research. What psychics do, what does not work that well. What psychics do is they look at the path you're on and they see the most likely outcome. Years ago, I was dealing with two individual clients that I honestly didn't realize were working on the same problem. They had some remarkable similarities. Both were in absolutely stable marriages, but both had fallen in love with the other one. Now, just to complicate matters, it was both the wives had fallen in love with the other wife. Now, here's the thing. The marriages were stable. The husband was loving, was attentive. They both had a set of kids. But both had still, for an inexplicable reason to them, fallen in love with the other wife. When I was working with them, I guided these two in guiding their current marriages apart and putting their relationship together. Now, do understand, I did not realize, in all fairness, that we were talking about the same people. That we were talking about two sides of the same coin. I do not see a problem with male being in love with male, female being in love with female, doesn't matter. For me, not going to happen. Just not. But the long story short is both marriages did come to a close. The two wives did get together in a stable relationship. Ow. And both sets of families remained friends. To make matters more intriguing, they ended up sharing holidays together. To me, that was one heck of a success story. For them. Now, I'm just looking at this. Joe's going, one thing after my parents fight that won't happen anymore is kiss and make up. And, the funny thing there, Joe, is, and I'm sure you're aware of this, as you get older, the whole concept of kiss and make up takes on a brand new meaning. Okay, but no, what I find is this. When you're dealing, and where it comes to, are we dealing with a true psychic? Ask yourself this, and it's the same question you ask the spiritual guide. The person that's giving you the insight, are they giving you insight that fits? This is why what I'm doing in consultation for somebody, I almost invariably look at them and go, does this make sense? If they say yes, then I'm good. I just carry on going forward. If they say no, I look at where things went sideways. Okay, so what has brought you to where you are? Well, in my case, a lot of trial and error. Following what the so-called professionals said. Most people, and again, the same problem. People say, I'm psychic, therefore listen to me. There have been some that charged a stupid amount of money. Now, the reason I have cut my prices back is not because I don't feel I'm good. Okay, quite the contrary. Ayahuasca, I like the way you put that. You can read people with intuition, but not magically. That's where you're mistaken. You can do both. But the thing with intuition is this. Intuition, everybody calls it intuition. And what it is a combination of clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, psychometry. There's a whole pile of senses that all come together. Okay, every one of you is born with this ability. Now, magic is another issue, but it also works. Okay, and neither one is better than the other. But do understand, there's a funny little saying that goes, all things are possible. Can you do things with magic? Absolutely you can. Is it right to use magic? Well, let me ask you this. Is it right to breathe? There's a lot of people out there that breathe. And prior to science catching up with it, mankind looked at all weird events as magical. Now, I think it was Einstein put it. I think that's where I first heard it. Was when you push technology, when you push technology to its ultimate level, there is little difference between it and magic. When you push intuition to its ultimate level, there is little difference between it and magic either. Now, I personally don't believe in the idea of you can't do something anymore. Run into way too many situations where that has been proven very false to me. I don't expect you to believe that. Okay, I really don't expect any of you to believe that I was clinically dead 4 times before I hit 10, 5 times since, where it was other people, not doctors, that brought me back. Okay, although in one case in particular, and I suspect the second, in the case of my father brought me back twice that I can piece together. Okay, once from shock, the other from drowning. Okay, and the way I know the shock was definitely his doing. Okay, but I don't expect you to believe this. The fact of the matter is this. You're born with intuition. When you work with it strong and long enough, and you learn to trust it, just watch what your instincts tell you, what your intuition tells you. This is what I'm going through. This is what I feel is going to happen. Once you see enough quantitative evidence of it, okay, eventually you'll reach a point where you go, okay, I'm just going to take it for granted this happens. Okay, I'm done trying to chalk it up to lucky. Okay. But there are a lot of things that you learn over life. And this is what I mean by a lot of what I see is based on in excess of 100,000 clients. Okay. a lot of the stuff, when I'm talking about statistics, that's where I'm getting my statistics from, firsthand, not from reading government papers, although I rely on other people to look at the government papers. Okay, or do the research, because frankly, I get bored with it. And in answer to that neat little question, that's where that, and this is the other side of that cup. Do that so I don't pour it. Kind of a neat little cup, isn't it? That came from the Paracon, from the Fourth Moon Paracon, down and back in 2018, right before lockdown happened. Okay, but you're here now. Now where do you go? In my case, it's real simple. I spent the morning on the phone with my other half, and let's just be clear. My other half, talk about a goal of mine. Okay, not only is this the person I'm intending on marrying down the road, I'm just waiting for her to get up here. She's also my executive assistant for my company. She is also my primary editor. Okay, well, at this point, she's my only editor, aside from me. Okay, she is, and so with that in mind, she's an absolute gold mine. But we spent the first few hours of the morning, laying out the next 6 months of the newsletter. And yes, I do apologize to those of you with physical that are waiting for the hard copy. Just to put that in perspective, let's get this out of the way. Whole bunch of these. Ran out of paper. Okay, so just found that this morning. There's a hard copy. It's getting mailed out tomorrow. Okay, because as you can see, I got a whole pile of them to back up tonight. But we spent the first few hours this morning of just laying out what is in the next 6 months, so I can get all of it ahead of the game. Very important in my eyes. Don't know if it's important in yours, but you get to decide that. But where your life is right about now, okay, let's see what we're looking at here. I'm just going to jump backwards here. Joe, you said the one thing that won't happen anymore is your parents won't kiss and make up. Do understand, as you get a little older, energy levels are a little bit off. Yes, that is exactly what I said. Okay. The answer there is yes. Joe, I had two families. I didn't realize that I was talking to them independently. And because I didn't ask the names of anybody involved, I didn't know I was working on two sides of the same coin. I was talking to both the women, both of whom had the same situation. Very stable marriage, very loving, attentive husband. Okay, wonderful kids. They were mutually, the parents were raising the kids in a stable home. Okay, didn't even have a whole lot of conflict going on between them. But both women had fallen in love with the other one. So I walked them through how to bring it to a close where as few people got hurt as possible. Now you got to remember, when you get married, and it doesn't matter who you are, okay, if you get married and you get married till death do you part, the thing you got to realize is, and what they don't tell you, is we are talking about the death of the emotional connection. Emmy Tonga, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Okay, when the love is no longer there. Okay, when the love is no longer there, it is time to look at it and go, okay, our time is done here. It is time to walk away. But the important thing here is do not cheat, do not break your vows, do not break your bond. You don't go there until the marriage is cleanly ended. Okay. And absolutely keep the people informed. And what I mean by that is if the marriage is coming apart, this does not mean you have to fight and bring the marriage apart. When my marriage came to an end, when I finally realized what the problem was, and rest assured I was some dense on that one. When I finally realized it, we were in the middle of a screaming argument. Okay. And when it finally came clear, the argument stopped. I looked at my wife at the time and I went, "Thank you." Walked over, gave her a hug. I says, that didn't, that helps a lot. It explains a whole pile. I said, it didn't help our marriage at all. I said, in truth, it actually guaranteed we're finished. Right. To this day, 15 years later, okay, we still are friends. She gave me a call this morning in a bit of a bind for transportation. Can't imagine that statutory holiday and the buses stopped. She still had to get to work. So she never hesitated. She picked up the phone, phoned me up and says, "Can you come and give me a lift?" Okay, there is no conflict there anymore. Would I go back to her? No, that door is closed. Okay, that door is completely shut. But, will I still continue to do what I can? Certainly. But then I'll do what I can with you guys as well. Not the same capacity, by the way. But this is the time to take a real look in your own life and go, are you content? Oh, thanks, football. I appreciate that. I'm looking into, I'll be discussing that. I'll be discussing the whole issue of coffee mugs and what have you with my executive assistant, with my other half in the near future, because these are just things that are going to be being added to what I'm dealing with. Like I said, it's very simple for me. Okay. It boils down to I've got a picture in my head of being able to help people around the world, whether you're an author, an artist, as in a drawing artist, a painter, a musician, a bodybuilder. It doesn't matter to me. Okay. If you're striving to build something, I would like to encourage you to do so. I was down at the park for a walk today, and there was a young lass there, and she's 11 years old. She's down there with her mom. She set up a lemonade stand. Okay. Now there are many of you that will look at it and go, "Oh, but that's not sanitary. You can't do that anymore. You've got to have all these health regulations." I look at it going, when I was growing up, you'd be amazed at what we ate. Okay. You'd be amazed. Some of you around my age, and even younger, may look at it and go, "But I ate all sorts of things that didn't kill me." Okay. So I went back down. Now, this young lass, she got the opportunity. She got invited. Okay. Albeit she went to an audition, but she went to a dance audition and got invited to go to Prague next year and dance at this massive event. Okay, so here she is at the park with her mom selling lemonade and homemade cookies that that the Munchkin personally put the effort into. Okay, and she was selling them for $1 a piece. Okay, now I looked at this and went, bonus. Well, correction. Lemonade, and it was a big tumbler of lemonade. Okay. She was selling for $1.50 iced lemonade and $1 for a chocolate chip cookie. Okay. Well, normally I was just finishing my walk off. So I stopped and talked to them, and of course they only had cash, obviously. But I literally went home, came back out, and I talked to them for a little bit longer. I looked at the Munchkin and I said, "Okay, now don't argue with me. Don't say anything silly here." Okay. And I handed her a $20 bill. I said, "Look, I made a commitment to myself that I will help as many people as I can. You're putting the effort into it. You've got an opportunity here. Okay. This is, this is the best way that I can do it. I swore I would help people. I will not go through a registered charity because the massive majority of the ones that I've heard of, and if somebody knows of a charity that does better than this, I'd love to hear about it. Okay. I can't remember the name of it, but the best one I ever heard of was one where 30% of the money you donate goes to the charitable cause. Okay. The worst one was 1%, meaning you give $100 to the low end charity, and it is a world renowned charity. You give $100 to it, $1 goes to the actual charity. The rest goes to their pockets. I'm not participating in that. Will I in time build a charity myself? Absolutely. But, and you can take this one to the bank as the saying goes, 100% of the cost of running said charity will be absorbed by my company, which means when somebody makes a donation to it, 100% of that donation will go to helping somebody. Now, that may be buying somebody, and they won't necessarily be on the street. I've been known to walk into a restaurant. Literally, I'll look at the restaurant and go, okay, see that table there with those two people? And the person will go, the waiter will go, yeah, this is great. Are they drinking alcohol? No. Good. I'm paying for the bill. And I'll pay for the bill and leave. And that's just the way I am. And Joe, you're absolutely right. Joe's just going, the darndest things can happen when one goes for a walk. It's how you respond to it that determines the outcome. Absolutely correct. Okay. And this is why I do my best to talk nicely to people. I prefer being talked nicely to myself, so that's where it goes. Now, what was... Oh, that's what it was. By the way, when I said I was putting together, I was building the poetic anthologies. I just laid out the framework for 2 of them. Okay. And I will be doing multiple volumes because I've got a specific number of poems that I will be putting into it. Okay. And I'll figure out the pricing as I go along. But I've already found out the size. I talked to my printer to find that out. This is where my company is going. This is where I am going. Okay. I am at this point in my life where I'm no longer interested in just being mediocre in my life. I'm coming out of the shadows. And, in case you hadn't noticed, I'm coming out with a bit of a kick, at least in my eyes. And I encourage you to do the exact same thing. Take a look at your life. Are you content with it as is, or are you living in fear of what may go south? Okay. I said I pulled away from people for the longest time. Realistically, I pulled away from people way back in kindergarten. Okay. And now, I looked at it and went, I'm just not dealing with them. Maybe they'll grow up. Maybe they'll grab a brain. And no, that's a lousy way to put it. I know this. I never said it was politically correct. As a matter of fact, I absolutely have said I'm not politically correct. Okay. But then you actually have to worry about whether or not that's actually going to be a problem. I look at it this way. Ask me a question, I'll give you a direct answer. You may not like the answer. Okay. You don't have to believe the answer. Take a look take a look at your own research. Do your own assessment. Okay. But I prefer it if you didn't actually torture me to get me to change my mind. I'm not into that whole pain thing. The old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but whips and chains excite me. No, that's the wrong one. Sticks and stones may break my bones. Okay. In all fairness, they do. Okay. I prefer not to experience that again. I've had enough broken bones. Okay, broken bones, split skin, that sort of thing. I just assume not bother with it anymore. But I will tell you, you asked me, and like I said, if you've got a question, if you've got a comment, absolutely put it in the chat room, even if it's not on the topic we're talking about. Now, here's a question. Football says we have someone in the area giving $2,000 tips. Okay, now I presume you're referring to somebody coming along, sitting down for a meal, and giving the waitress a $2,000 tip. I presume that's what you're referring to. Am I correct in this? Absolutely perfect. This is something that I absolutely aspire to, and I've told people this. When I've got the money, this is something that's going to happen. I would love to, and I will therefore do it. I will walk into a place one day, sit down, have a cup of coffee, and give the person a very large tip. I've got a whole scale worked out for it. I'm just kind of that twisted. Okay. But the reality is, when you look at it, that person giving the $2,000 tip, if all they're doing is going, here's $2,000, they walk off, all they're doing is saying, here, thank you so much. I'm going to give you a boost up in your life. Now, make it count. Take that bonus and put it to use. Okay. I will, in time, be one of these people who gives poor waitresses a heart attack. Because I did an article in September, July and August. I think it was August, where I was saying thank you so much and thank you so much for that idea. Where is my sheet of paper? Put that aside, pen. When you do that, first responders get very little, support. But this is an excellent thing that you guys have just brought to mind. Okay. Waitresses and waiters go through a staggering amount of abuse, as do bartenders and dishwashers and cooks. I mean, everybody gets this. Okay. Yes, I said thank you so much to the first responders. Yeah, no doubt there, Andy. And if I had that kind of money, I would quite happily be doing that. But I will suggest one quick little thing for you, Dean. Take that word need and throw it out of your vocabulary. Whenever you utter it, whenever you say it, okay, immediately cut yourself off and go, no, I desire such and such a boost. Okay, not I need. Because the moment you go, I need a boost or I want a boost, what you're doing is telling the universe, I desire to experience a lack of a boost. And the universe turns around and goes, done. Don't get it, but done. And you end up behind the 8 ball. Okay. This is one of those fundamental linguistic changes that I have implemented in my own life. And I know you've caught me doing this, where I'll say I can't do that or I want that, and I'll back it up and rewrite it. The reason for that is to change the energy immediately. It's like taking a pebble and you drop it into the water, and it creates this little bit of a growing ripple. You take a bigger rock and you drop it in. That bigger ripple will overrun the little one. Okay. That's what we're aiming at doing, is changing the way you're looking at linguistical impact and at the sonic resonance of your intentions. This is the way we go about changing the way the world is. Okay. That's why I've ended up changing a lot of my own speech patterns. Give it a shot there, D. Okay, just a suggestion. See what happens when you take that word need, and every time you think it, every time you utter it, every time you write it, scratch it out, back up, and reword it that you desire it or you choose to have it. And see how big of an impact that immediately or almost immediately, has on your life. Okay. I used to have a memory for names that was about that long. Okay. That was it. Somebody tell me their name, and before the echo died, I forgot it. And then I started going, I've got a perfect memory for names. My recall is improving. The second I started telling myself that out loud, I started remembering people's names much more effectively. Oh, now I got to ask you, football. You said here David Lee Roth is a first responder. Do you happen to know what branch of the first responders he's working in? Just because I'm curious. Oh, okay. I can go with that. Yo, the there you go. You know the neat little part? David Lee Roth is an EMT, and I know from personal discussions with him that so is Travis Walton. As a matter of fact, when I met Travis Walton, I had to actually call his ability into play because I ended up in the middle of the night having my shoulder dislocated. Okay, and yes, the world famous Travis Walton became an EMT. And you know, in my opinion, that makes him an EMT. Not better than the next guy that came up and is an 18-year-old that's now become an EMT that isn't known by anybody. EMTs, and let's get this straight. Every one of you is an EMT. You see an accident and you're the first on the site, you're the EMT. Every one of you is a politician, you're a teacher, you're a student, you're a spiritual guide. All of you have these titles. You just may not recognize them. Okay. Now, what do we got here? Joe is going, this happened in the cemetery during the day 24 years ago. I was in there visiting this short brunette woman. Oh, she was a looker. Walks toward me crying. She couldn't find a grave. We hugged. Yo, and I will tell you this. I gotta ask, did you manage to find the grave with her? But that whole event, that is a first responder. And Joe, if I were there, if we were actually in close proximity, I would literally shake your hand in thanks on behalf of that woman. Because I'll tell you, you made that woman's day. Okay, right then and there, you could not have done any better for her, I don't think. As a matter of fact, I really question whether I think on some occasions. But you're standing right now in your current life, in your current situation, because of situations and choices you made. What are you going to do with your life now that you're here? Not what are you going to do to change how you got here, because you're not doing that. Okay? First rule of thumb, accept where you are, wherever you are, as was said in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, wherever I am and wherever I am, there I am. I believe that's how it was put, and somebody's probably going to correct me on that, because I know that's a misquote. But you do get the point. At least I think you do. Where you're standing right now, regardless of how you got there, now is the time to look at that and go, is this where you desire to be? If it is not, let's start making that change. Let's start getting off our tails and making the difference in our own life path. Okay, this neat little sheet here, okay, that's my next 6 months of layout for the newsletter. This is just one of those things that we're looking at going, this is how we have to change it if we're going to change this world. We got to get off our tail feathers and make it happen. That's first rule of thumb. But you make it happen by deciding that this is the road you desire to be on. Okay. Now I'm going to show you something really neat. And it was something I discovered quite by accident when I put the company together. And I require this to do it. Open that, grab this. Nice thing about actually having my office organized and my house, my bedroom, my office, working on the rest of the house. Okay, now when I built Mystical, when I built Inner Voice Enterprises in the first place. Okay, now I'm going to show you something really neat here. I think it's really neat. If we take Inner Voice Enterprises, okay, now this is the initials for my company. But look at that and imagine in your head, and I'm going to show you this in a second, but imagine in your head what happens, what pops up into view when you bring all of those letters together. Okay. When you bring all of those letters together, I'm wondering if somebody's going to come up with the answer before I actually get finished drawing it out on paper here. But we take Inner Voice Enterprises. When you squeeze it all together, it shows you the absolute backbone. That's easy, Raven. All you do is to sign up for the newsletter is to literally you simply drop me a line. Okay. Whether it's that you want the hard copy or the email copy, either way doesn't matter. Drop me a line in any one of the venues, okay, with an email address or a physical mailing address if you desire the hard copy, and just then go literally, can you put me on the I'd like to receive your free newsletter. Okay. Now, in your case, I should have part of it anyway, but that's all there is to it. Never, and I do mean that literally, will I ever charge for the newsletter, whether it's physical or not. Now, I'm going to deal with Joe here first. Joe's just finished off adding here. He goes, what happened that day was very emotional for both of us. I helped her, then I looked up and she was getting in her car. I said, wait, but she was gone. We hugged. She had a very intense moment. You found the one thing she was looking for that she may not have realized. You were the gravesite she was looking for. The grave that she was looking for, by the way, wasn't likely a physical grave. By the feel of it, the added bonus there was she was looking for some sign that somebody cared about what she was doing or about what she was going through. That was what had died, was her belief in people. Okay, you're showing up and offering to help her and spending the time with her. That was all she required. Okay, you should feel really, really, really proud of that. Okay, now, when you take the three letters of Inner Voice Enterprises and put them together, you'll see the backbone of my company. See how that works? You can still see we have Inner Voice Enterprises. But when you put them together, there is the backbone of what drives my company, of what drives me to actually make things happen. And it's got to be the same thing that drives you to make your life better. You're more than welcome there, Raven. Now, I wonder if I've got this here. Where are we? I go... No, that is wrong. I am looking... That will have to work. We do that and we go to... Gee, whole pile of, whoa, what was that? Oh, that's interesting. I was just making certain I hadn't missed something rather important. But the reality, where are we here? Exactly, yeah, and that was what I discovered. Oh, Eric, how you doing? Glad you could join us. It has been way too long, my friend. Yo, and I'm going to have to connect with you there. But I do trust life has been treating you decently. Absolutely correct there, Steve. Steve just saying the best gift you can give anybody is your time. Absolutely. Quite often, a listening ear is all that somebody needs to stop them from doing something absolutely irrevocable, as in, suicide or something terrible like that. Well, that's true. Not hanging in there. Now, this is assuming, of course, you're hanging in there and you're not strapped to the wall like I was centuries ago, by shackles, or doing that neat little fish wiggle on the end of a long rope. Okay. But, because hanging like that is not fun, trust me. Been there, done that, didn't work out all that well for me. But where you are in your life right now, this is the time. Not 6 months down the road. Okay. But right here, right now, is the time to get off your tail feathers and make your life the life you desire it to be. And that simply means the energy is moving forward. You're not stopping your forward motion. You're not stopping your life from evolving. You do, however, have the option of controlling it. Joe's just thankfully adding on to this. Joe's going, when I got back home, which was not far, I lost it. And I, and cried a long time. Nothing like that. That day has never happened. Nothing like that. And yeah, I understand that. I read it terribly. But, this is something you can bet. And I know there's no way you're going to find out for certain. But you can pretty much bet that same woman went home and had the same side effects. She probably had the breakdown in the car. Okay, unless, of course, she was driving, at which point I hope she waited until she got home. But that is a gift that you get to take with you on that memory is a phenomenal gift that you get to take on on that journey. And I'm going to do something here that is a really bizarre idea, but it's just something that dawned on me. And Joe, I'm going to ask you something very, very, very direct because I'm subtle. That's me. But would you be willing to write that event out, even just that short little form that you've just given us in bits and pieces, and send it to me to include in one of the upcoming newsletters? Because I'm telling you, it's things like that that people really need to see. Not who murdered who shot who ripped who off, but who helped who in their time of need. And Joe, you're right smack on the top of the totem pole at this moment. Okay. If you're willing, I would love to have you contribute it. But like I said, to be clear, I'm not selling the newsletter at all. So am I paying anybody for anything for it? No. That's just the way it is. But that becomes your call. Okay. And to further that little note, those of you that have similar events like that, I'm certainly not going to print all of them, but I am going to start putting a collection together and, and put them in the newsletter. Okay. In all fairness, if I get enough of them, I may well put an anthology together with a bunch of these little positive little stories. To that end, Joe, and all of you, if at the bottom of that email or whatever you send it in, please include your permission to reprint that story Okay, and rest assured, the one thing I will not put is people's names. Okay, it'll just be the events. I will not include people's names in it. Okay, in the newsletter, I will certainly go, here's the first name of the person that contributed it. But that's just the way that's going to go. Because let's face it, where it comes to printing them in an anthology, there's a lot of people out there by the name of Joe. My father's middle name was Joseph. Okay, so there's a whole pile of people out there with very similar with those names. Okay, but this is just one of those things. When I said the magazine, that the newsletter, it will eventually become a magazine, by the way. Okay, but I was looking at it when I take a look at that. Oh, it's something to note with the newsletter. Take a look at the first letter of each of the sections. Okay, we've got where are we here? We've got the paranormal, the paranormal, the entertainment, alien, the career, and the economics. If you look at those first letters say peace. Okay. And what I'm doing with this newsletter, on top of calling it Positive Perspectives, I'm wrapping it, I'm putting things together in it. Okay. In order to make it stand out, to really pull it all together. Now, where is not that list? What the heck did I do with the list? That was it. Good. For a minute there, I thought I had scratched that out. But this is the point. We are sitting in a world right now that is going down a very, very complicated path. But working together, we can change that path. There are a staggering number of spiritual guides out there. People standing up going, I'm psychic, listen to me. And I look at most of these people going, if you're psychic, why did you do that? Okay, I've made mistakes, don't get me wrong. I went bankrupt twice at the guidance of a financial advisor. Okay, I've highly recommended financial advisors. And I will tell you, both bankruptcies were absolutely stupid. Okay, but I did it because I didn't know better. It's what I call true ignorance. Since then, I have guided countless people away from bankruptcy into their own private sort of sense. Into their own private sense of accomplishment and debt freedom, but using their money, not by my handing them money, not by making excuses for them, not by begging on their behalf to release that debt. Okay, I don't believe in releasing the debt personally. Okay, I went bankrupt twice because I was guided to. I am currently actually further in debt than both times before combined. But I'm quite happy about it. I got a brand new car in the yard. Whoa, that was close. That was really close. Joe's just saying I would be willing, and I hope the woman felt the same thing when she drove off. If I could have caught him in it with her before leaving, she would be my soulmate. Semper Fi there, Black Dragon. Glad you could join us. In all fairness, Joe, you may find she is your soulmate. The thing with a soulmate is this. Okay, when both of you physically die, okay, hopefully several years from now, if you are soulmates, you will reconnect, you will find each other again now that you have, and you will merge to become a higher entity. Okay, a more enlightened individual. So it is quite probable, okay, that she may be quite possible that she may well be your soulmate. But very few soulmates actually connect on the physical plane. In answer to your question there, football, I am driving a 2022 Mitsubishi RVR. Okay, the reason I got it was twofold. One, I had to get a car. Two, was that, well, quite frankly, I required one that was tall enough I could get in and out of it comfortably. Okay, it's a I don't know if it's an FUV, SUV, or what you call it, in all fairness, but it is for me, it's comfortable. And the other answer to the question, it's gray. And if I was ever to pick a favorite color, that would be it. Honestly, football, 6 or 7. Well, I went to the Chevy dealer, to Toyota, to Audi, to Kia. Okay. I went to a private lot, like just a small lot. And then I stumbled across, I went to the Oldsmobile lot. And I went to Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi, the first guy that I talked to there wasn't even a salesman. He was one of the lot workers. Really helpful, really, really, pleasant to deal with. And then he took me directly and introduced me to one of the salespeople. Okay. So, would I go back to that company? Certainly, but the odds are I won't ever have to. Like, I go there for the maintenance, but would I recommend them? Certainly. I've been treated quite nicely. Yeah, and the problem there, buying a car can be a hassle. But then I walked off a lot one day because I was talking to the guy, I was trying to get some information. And all of a sudden he shifted gears and he goes, just look at this, they're brand new tires. And look at the upholstery. It's just beautiful. I looked at him and I went, you just lost your sale. He goes, why? I mean, these are great qualities. I said, I'm way more interested in the drivetrain and the braking capacity than I am in brand new tires on a brand new car. Steve is asking, is it possible Joe and this woman had a past life together and they met in this lifetime for a brief time? Absolutely possible. Okay. Quite often what you find with soulmates is they will cross paths regularly. Okay. And eventually meet and know their soulmates. They may know there's a connection. Okay. But they may not realize this may be the first time that Joe ever realized this may well be my soulmate. That being said, okay, assuming, and I use that term very intentionally, okay, assuming she felt the same thing, yes, they can cross paths in dreams. My first wife, I crossed paths with in a dream before I met her. That was a near disaster. Tell me, which would you think is a better drink? This one, which has coffee in it, or this one up here that I just about reached for? And you get to figure out what's in it. Okay. This is what I just about picked up to drink. Not a good thing, by the way. Not recommended. There absolutely are. I've got alien friends. There's no question there, Terry. My soulmate, quite frankly, is not an off-worlder. Not at this point. But there are a few that I still have to keep tabs on. Okay. But do understand, soulmates are pretty specific. Intriguingly enough, in Where It All Began, the Yldrbac Chronicles, the one that I'll be bringing out next year. Well, the next one I'll be bringing out in order. I actually cover what a soulmate is, what a twin flame is, what a soul family is, and why people get them mixed up. As a matter of fact, that's not a bad idea. And I don't mean putting that in the book, that's already in the book. I know I've got to start being a little more active on social media. I know this for an absolute certainty. And what better way to do it than this sort of thing? Okay, but a twin flame is this. You take in a nutshell, you take the soul, it splits. These two parts are soulmates. Okay, now each of those split again. Okay, this is a soulmate to both of these, and this is a soulmate to both of these. This one is a soulmate to these two, and this one is a soulmate to these two. What it boils down to is it's one part of the other parts of the two halves. That's where your twin flames are. Sorry, not soulmates. Soulmate, this is your soulmate. When these two split, soulmate to soulmate, okay, this is the soulmate of this one. This is a twin flame to this one or this one. And this one is a twin to this one or this one. You get the idea? This is starting to look like puppets. I don't have any finger puppets. Sorry, guys, don't get to see that. You'll just have to work with your imagination on that one. But you can cross people in your dreams, in your daydreams, in your night dreams. Hopefully your soulmate is not somebody you meet in a nightmare. That can be very disconcerting in case you haven't pieced it together. Okay, now I'm not going to tell you this is literally a statement I wholeheartedly disagree with. Okay, there's a gentleman on Facebook that is stating, you are not human. Humans do not exist. I'm telling you, yeah, they do. You happen to be one. It's that simple. Okay, telling people that humans do not exist is leading you down a very confused path. Okay, this is like telling you, oh, by the way, I'm sorry, you're mistaken. You don't have two eyes. You really don't. You've got no eyes. They don't exist. This is the kind of, well, that was nearly rude. This is the kind of misleading guidance that so many so-called spiritual guides give. Oh, well, thank you very much there, Terry. I appreciate that. Although I do have a question there. How could a human be an alien hybrid without the human existing to start with? Well, that's okay. I'm a figment of my own imagination, so that works out well. Except in my case, my imagination is more often a nightmare. This is, and I really do appreciate and that's not a bad idea. Let's see. Yeah, this guy, he talks around in circles. I'm just looking at it. I'm not going to read the whole thing because, quite frankly, I found it a long time ago. I came to the answers and to the functional answers way before I get through all the questions. What do we got? Not exactly, Raven. That part, the moon has no functional bearing on soulmate or not. Because understand, souls do not rely on the Terran sun. They do not rely on this galaxy. Souls rely on a whole different ballgame. Okay, so where the sun is, where the moon is, it actually doesn't have that big of an impact. Oh, I've read a lot on Facebook and the internet, and I've had 3 different shrinks tell me, "No, Keith, you're not insane." As a matter of fact, I literally told one because I asked him. I says, "How do you know if you're going insane?" Every psychiatrist, psychologist, student of psychology I've ever talked to, all of them have told me the exact same thing. If you're questioning, are you insane? Are you going insane? You're not. Because if you were going insane, you wouldn't question it. Okay. It's that simple of an outlook. Now, from my standpoint, it's simple. a buddy of mine actually bought me a bumper sticker one day, and the bumper sticker literally says, I don't suffer from insanity. I enjoy every minute of it. Okay, this is just the reality from my standpoint. Where are we going here? Black Dragon goes, if, in truth, most of us are soulmate for, for we come from the same energy. If you take a look at it from that standpoint, not soulmate, soul family. If you go to the ultimate beginning, then yes. Okay, absolutely. And if you go from that, we are all, we are all related in that aspect. Okay, never mind the 6 degrees of separation. Yeah, Eric goes, and Markham goes, I keep hearing having the power fail. Someone must not want me to hear this. And then he goes on and says, I tried sanity once. I didn't care for it at all. This is why I figure at the end of the year we have the sanity clause. And yes, this year is going to be a different one from my end. Okay. It's not necessarily going to cost me a fortune. Okay. But I am taking the time to make certain that people's Christmas is a little better. And for me, it's easy. You don't have to believe in Christmas. You don't have to believe in me. Okay. You really don't. Okay. But I would suggest you start believing in you and in your own ability to alter the way your life is running. World, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, I do have to find this. I minimized it, so now I gotta minimize it. And there we go. World, where are we? Right there. And we go, copy that. Pop that down here. And we go, paste. Okay, guys. This is the link to World Bigfoot's live stream. Okay. Do drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, come right out, give him a thumbs up, do subscribe to the channel, and share the daylights out of it. Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Thus far, today's been going really well on my end. By the way, guys, I probably should have said this earlier, but what the heck? If you haven't done so already, it would be really appreciated if you'd like our stream, give us a thumbs up, do subscribe to the channel, and share the daylights out of it. Working together, we are going to turn this world around. In all fairness, I've seen it in this chat room. Okay, I've seen this world turn around. This little world. I saw somebody come in here a number of months back, and the first words out of their mouth was literally, the first words, this place is full of, he says, and I'm paraphrasing, what a bunch of trolls. Now, I'm still trying to figure out what a troll is. I mean, I know they're really nasty critters that regenerate at a staggering level. And I thank you so much for that, Joe. I look forward to seeing it in my email so that I can actually get it right. Because going back and finding it here is going to be a royal pain in the neck. For me, it doesn't always stay put. Markham, that's a phenomenal idea. I got a question, a very direct question for you there, Eric. Which do you prefer being referred to? Eric, Preacher, or Markham? Because I can work with any one of them. Troll dolls are an interesting thing. My brother, I think, used to collect them, for a little bit. I know my son is not happy with some troll dolls, or more to the point, this one. Back in grade 6, my son made this, okay, for art. Now, this is one of those funny little things that it's supposed to go like this, right? You've got the head, it can move the whole 9 yards. But when you're not putting it on your hand, it's not supposed to do this. He woke up one night and it was laying on the shelf. He woke up one night and the thing, as he woke up, does this on the shelf. Well, he comes sliding into my room, handed me this. What pray tell is that? I don't know what that is. Doesn't matter. He come into the room, handed me this, and told me he didn't want it in his bedroom. So it's been sitting in my room ever since. Okay, he's graduated now, so the last 7 years, it's been in my bedroom. Needless to say, I'm not getting rid of it. Ultimately, yes. Now, so it is there. But I have a tendency of keeping things like most parents. I keep things my parents kept and have had. That my kids gave me. That's not the only one that's done that. But that was the one that ended up in my house. He had another toy that walked across the room for him, right? Which was really kind of comical in one sense, but boy, did it scare the daylights out of him. Like there is no telling which way things are going to go here. What I can tell you is this. When I set my mind on something, I'm going to continue dealing with it. Let's see, Markham is going, I had a robot toy my grandma Markham gave me for Christmas. Turned on by itself about 3 months after she passed. I'm thinking that he may have had a little help. But no, for me, this is just plain normal. And like I open the door anyway. For me, when spirits come along, I just let them know if you're looking for a place to settle in, pull up a chair, make yourself at home, but there are certain things I've had to lay in stipulations for. Not the least of which is stay out of my son's room, because he doesn't handle it that well. Football's going, have you been attacked by a wasp, bee, or hornet? I have been personally. I don't know. I'm presuming that was a question for me. I'm not entirely certain. Probably, but I have definitely been attacked by hornets. I didn't stop to find out if it was a wasp or not. Okay. As for a bee, I don't get attacked by bees. Okay. But at the same time, I don't attack them either. But hornets and wasps, absolutely. And I suspect probably more hornet than wasp. I remember my dad got attacked by a wasp, and I kid you not, the wasp was that long. I've only seen one in this valley. In the 40 years I've been here, I've only seen one. Okay, and when it come at Dad hauled off and cold cocked it. Stunned it, it dropped to the ground, then my dad stepped on it. Right, but that was a big wasp. Oh, no. Yeah, Markham, for me, when I was working with a Ouija board the first time, the planchard came off the table. There were 4 of us working with it. I didn't know what he was doing at the time. And the planchard come off the table and buried it on the other side of the room in a concrete wall. So, I mean, when that happened, I got up and walked over to the planchard and went, what the heck? Everybody else is out the door. Of course, that was my father's complaint about me, is I had no fear of the metaphysical world, of the paranormal world. He said it just doesn't bother you. Black Dragon's going, My grandma had an old doll that you could turn the head on to get different facial expressions. That doll would turn its own head. Have you ever run into a situation where you look at it and go knock it off and the thing goes back to sleep? Yeah, I used to have a wonderful reaction with them on my own, with other people. I don't play with them on my own, but I do know how a Ouija board works. And I've got the schematics to build one. I just haven't gotten around to it. I will one day. But then, and this is a very big caution, I'm a firm believer that whoever actually decided to turn the Ouija board into a toy is the same kind of genius that would take nitroglycerin and go, here, guys, take it home, shake it up, have a blast. I mean, this is not an intelligent thing to turn into a toy. Okay, but again, what I'm looking at, I started off, why are you on your current path? Now, I know why I'm on mine. Okay, quite frankly, I made a choice way back before Earth was even fully constructed. Okay, I made a choice that led to a connection that quite literally I am here until she dies. Okay, and yes, I got a lot of work to do between now and then, but when she dies, I have been informed that she is a future soulmate when I've collected a number of other pieces of me. Okay. Honestly, Black Dragon, I do. I also used to have a science kit that actually had mercury in it as well. And now they look at it going, you can't do that anymore. You know, which I can understand not putting the uranium in a toy. Okay. Can you picture even putting a little tiny spot of U-235 into a kid's toy? This would be the kind of thing that the genius that came up with, hey, let's sell the Ouija board as a toy. This is an idea. Okay, I mean, it is an idea. It's just not a good one. But you take a look at your current path. Identify what your primary drive is. Why are you doing what you're doing? Okay, it may be an elusive idea at this point. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's just it. The world's going, it didn't kill us. Playing on concrete and steel playgrounds didn't kill us either. Nor did playing on straight dirt, jumping off of 14-foot roofs, climbing trees with no safety net. There were accidents and some people got killed. Absolutely. But with all the safety gear in place. Yeah, you too, Eric. Eric goes, I survived the 60s and 70s. Join the club. Back when I was growing up in the 60s, there was a saying, and it went, every kid will eat a bushel of dirt before they die, but preferably not in one sitting. This is why there is one website, other than the ones I talk about here, that I absolutely encourage you to go take a look at. It's hilarious in a twisted sort of way. Should make a lot of sense to many of you. But it's called the DarwinAwards.com. Or more to the point, I think it's just literally Darwin Awards. I'm just going to double check because I'm nosy. Let us see. If we go Darwin Awards. DarwinAwards.com. And we go to that. The Darwin Awards, this is the page of their own page. The Darwin Awards honor those who tip chlorine into our gene pool by accidentally removing their own DNA from it during a spectacular climax of a great idea gone very, very wrong. You take a look at this, at some of these forklift, I mean, you've got to see these to believe that people can be this dense. And the sad part is, and I do feel for the people who die in them. Okay. You know, the fact of the matter is, death is sad for the people that are left behind. You know, absolutely. And this is just the reality of it. It's like much of the legislation going on. Let's protect, and people, it's like you call somebody an idiot, right? You're insulting them and you're going to make them feel bad. Well, you tell me. I knew of a guy, I knew of a guy personally. I don't know him anymore. He ran into a small snag. He was siphoning gas. Now, siphoning gas itself is illegal, but this guy took it to a whole new ballgame, into a whole new level. This genius took a lighter, opened up the gas tank, and took a lighter to see if there was fuel in the gas tank. Okay, now this is back before all the safety valves were in place in the gas tanks. Okay, now siphoning gas itself illegal, yes, unless it's your own gas. But you know, when you're looking about this, when you're looking at that sort of thing, using a lighter to see if this guy, if there's gas. Well, he didn't get the gas out of the tank, and the guy did have to replace his car. You know, there was another chap and a couple of kids I knew personally. You know, the idea that, if your kite is a child, if your kite gets caught in the high wire, call the power company. Well, these geniuses I went to school with decided they were going to fish it out of the high wire on their own. Not just using a rake. They used a metal rake. Okay. They spent 6 months in the hospital. And I'm just looking, Joe. Oh, thank you so much for answering that there, Black Dragon, because you're absolutely on the money. Okay. When you're aiming to draw somebody from the netherworld into the real world to just say hi, I'm just thinking of you, absolutely the right way. Okay. Black Dragon, your idea of think about her as you're going to sleep, absolutely the right method. They will respond a lot more readily. Yeah. Markham goes, I caught my jeans on fire when I was a kid working on my Bridgestone 175 DT motorcycle. See, I caught my pants on fire one day lighting a barbecue. Of course, we'd run out of lighter fluid, so I decided gasoline was a good idea. I did take, and I shouldn't say my pants. It was 3 spot fires on the grass. But we'd run out of lighter fluid. So I took gasoline, soaked a few of the briquettes in it, set them on, put a little sprinkle of gasoline on the barbecue, and was just about to light it when my wife at the time come out. I stopped her. I said, "Wait a minute, back up." And she goes, "Why?" I said, "Back up. I'm about to light the fire, the barbecue." "Well, why do I gotta back up?" I says, "Because if you don't back up, I'm not lighting the barbecue." So she backed up. She turned around, backed up. I dropped the match into the fire, and it went kaboom. We ended up with 3 small spot fires around the yard. But on the plus side, the barbecue was lit, and we could have our barbecue. We just let it cook for a little while to get the gasoline out of the equation. Guys, I'm not looking for that funny little antifreeze marinade that Murdoch used. That was a bad mix. Well, look at the bright side there, Markham. You burned yours with fire. So many kids went through that phase a few years back where they turned around and, they'd buy brand new jeans and then they cut holes in them. And I'm like, how can that be a functional style? But what the heck? No, I never went that way. I did used to wear 3-inch platforms and bell bottoms. And honestly, for me, they were one of the most comfortable boots I ever got into. But then they had this neat habit of forcing my knee into the right position. But you take a look at where your life is. Have you figured out why you are where you desire to be? Yeah, well, that too. I mean, I don't have a problem, world. I don't have a problem with people coming up with these brilliant ideas. Hey guys, let's eat Tide Pods. This is a brilliant idea. We'll take the Tide Pod challenge. And I'm thinking, okay, you come up with that idea, knock yourself out, but why follow it? There was a chap that I knew of that turned around and he was siphoning gas. And some of you are going to just think this is hilarious. It didn't kill him, by the way, so he's not on the Darwin Awards. He was trying to siphon gas in an RV park. So the cops were called because the guy tried siphoning gas from the back big pipe on the right hand, on the driver's side of the RV. Okay. And when the cops got there, this guy is all over the floor. He's just writhing around in agony. Okay. He's writhing around in agony. And the cops look at him and I looked at the owner and go, do you want to charge him? And the poor owner looks at the cop and goes, I really don't know if I should charge him or if I should pay him. Now, if you guys know anything about RVs, that might give you an idea why. Oops. Yeah, that can be a pain in the neck. I'm just looking at that. Markham's going, first time Dad used his smoker, he put about $100 worth of meat into it. Unfortunately, didn't let the lighter fluid burn off enough, and everything tasted like lighter fluid. That's one of those flavors. I know how people did it. It's not by drinking lighter fluid, but if you've ever used it, you'll understand how you get the taste. The one that I get a kick out of is, kissing smokers is like kissing a smoker. Is like kissing a dirty ashtray. I'm like, who was the unmitigated genius that kissed the dirty ashtray? To find out. Like, what kind of a brain pan does this person have? Or did they have? But you take a look at where your life is. I know where I'm standing. I know what I'm building. And yes, I am going to... Markham goes, wasn't me. That's my usual comment. He did it. I'm innocent, his fault. Doesn't matter whether there's anybody there, it's just I'm innocent. Or Mom would call me and she'd go, Keith, I go, I didn't do it. It was just that quick. Of course, I grew up in the military, so I knew all about the idea of pass the buck. But you take a look at the path you're currently on. Okay. Ask yourself, what is your end goal? If you've even got one, or more to the point, what is your next step? For me, it's real simple. I get done this stream and I will go in, I'll finish some paperwork I have to do, and then I'm going to start putting together October's newsletter. Well, first things first. I've got to address a whole bunch of envelopes to get them sent off tomorrow. Yes, I'm late with them. Okay. And for that, I will apologize for all the difference that makes. Yeah. Black Dragon goes, I never kissed an ashtray, but I had done the butt rolling from them. Yeah, and there's a big difference there. Some people have absolutely done that. I personally never did, but of course, in my case, never smoked. Not cigarettes, anyway. And besides that, picture me trying to roll a joint. It wasn't going to work all that well. Yes, I am constantly in focusing on that. But this is why I don't do a whole lot of things in some ways. But I'm getting things functional. See, the one time I really got high was quite literally, it was a room high. Okay, I was in the room, they weren't smoking much. Right, at least I didn't think they were. But, I'm sitting at the gaming table, and one of the game master goes, Keith, what are you doing? I looked at him and I said, I don't know, I think I lost the last 45 minutes of the game. Well, why? What's wrong? I says, well, I've never seen a table do this before. I've never had it happen since. Unless we're talking about when I get dizzy. At which point it does this. But the important factor here is take a look at where you are in your life right now. Where are you standing? And what is the next step you'd like to see take place? For me, it's to get on a solid path. Like I've got to finish paperwork tonight to get dropped off at Work BC and hopefully get their assistance in getting this publishing company moving properly. Okay, that and I've got a call coming in on Friday to the same effect, for the same purpose. See, when I was growing up, they didn't have bongs; they had bongos, and boy, was my brother good with them. But you take a look at your life at this point. I'm looking at mine going, it's time to come out of the shadows. It's time to start saying, hey, if you're following this kind of person, like for instance, if you're sitting in a group of people and the guy at the front of the group is standing there telling you, you're all going to die and you've got to come and talk to me so you can get forgiveness from me. If you don't do this, you're going to hell. Well, if you're heading for hell, give me a call. I can give you a guided tour. The place is a riot. The hot tubs are way, way, way too warm. Okay, but I show up down there, and the guys at the door, it's like, why are you here? So I'm just passing through, came to talk to a few old friends. Mind you, I do the same thing in heaven. Yes, that's what comes from having a twisted outlook on life and being dead way too many times. But you do get used to it after a while. Now, where are we here? Eyes aren't focusing. Actually, it boils down to eyes aren't working at all. I do believe my glasses need cleaning. That's probably half the problem here. But, today, I don't know, I get a kick out of it. Today, days are going by faster, or more to the point, the streams seem to be going faster for me than normal. And I don't know if that's because I just don't shut up or because things are finally getting into a decent rhythm. Let's see. Black Dragon goes, for me, I would like to unravel the mysteries of the universe. Well, it was about how to figure our females. But I figure unraveling the mysteries of the universe would be a lot more easier to figure out. Let me give you a hint about females. Females and males think essentially the same way. They process them a little different, but they've got the same goals. They're still looking to be treated with respect, to be given, accolades, if you will, for their efforts, to be treated as an equal. Okay, don't get me wrong. There is one difference between males and females for me personally. There is not a snowball's prayer I'm going to crawl into bed with a male. Okay, a female, that's another issue. But that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. Okay, for other people. But women still, you got to remember, men in the first place were protectors. They were built physically, on the whole, stronger, more aggressive, and certainly with a bigger disconnect from the emotional side. That's because they were born as hunters. Okay. The women are the ones, if you look back over society and you take all the editing out, women were the ones that stayed home. Because of that, therefore, they developed the healing techniques. They developed the housing ideas, and they developed much of the design of the original legal system. Okay. And then people came along and said, oh, no, you can't do that because I got more money than you. Doesn't work that way, people. And then, preachers just going, I would think that eternity would be monotonous without these little side quests we call lives. Absolutely it would. And I will tell you, given the depth of my own memories, I can tell you these little side quests are enjoyable. And much as I get frustrated with people, they are an integral part of life on this planet. Which is why I finally came to the conclusion 60 years later, well, 55. Okay, I came to the conclusion I've got to step out of the shadows. I've got to start talking to people and going, hey, would you mind pulling your head out of the sand? You can't go looking at somebody and go, well, you can. It is not functional to look at somebody and go, oh, you've got a different pigmentation layout on your face. Therefore, you're evil. Okay, or, oh my gosh, you've got different pigmentation in your hair. Therefore, you're dumber than a bag of hammers. Okay, I came to the conclusion a long time ago. Blonde is not a hair color. It's a personality trait. Well, there you go, Derek. And Derek. Jeez, how much. And there you go, Eric. A new podcast for you. But the reality of it is, and this is why gamers get a real sidetrack on occasion, is because we'll be going this way and go, oh, Yldrbac. I've actually got a character, he literally does that. He's walking along in the Yldrbacian Chronicles in Return to Paradise. There's a character that comes up by the name of Thunder Sawgrass. He's walking along, babbling at this one other character, and all of a sudden he goes, oh, Yldrbac, and he's off and gone in a different direction. Pretty much. I've actually got, speaking of squirrels, I've got a squirrel in my neighborhood here. They come fall when he starts collecting up nuts for the winter. He lives on the other side of the parking lot. And yet, I kid you not, he comes over regularly to my office window, holds up the nut that he's just found, waits until I acknowledge him and say, well done. And then he turns off, runs back to his house. And it's got to be, 50, 100 yards that he goes out of his way to show me what he did. Of course, I got a buddy who's got a bunch of birds. He's got bird feeder. And they'll come over and the squirrels will come over and tap on his window if the feeder is empty. They'll come over and bang on the window and say, hey, come on, I need food. But you can modify your own life and make it as exciting as you can possibly imagine. Okay. And with that in mind, here's a real good hope. May your future be as exciting and enjoyable as your imagination can make it. And rest assured, there's limits. There are few limits to what you can do there. But we are reaching the 2-hour mark. And with that in mind, I'm going to say thank you so very much for joining and for sharing your time with me today. Really do appreciate it. Tomorrow is Tuesday. I do believe, haven't got it all laid out, but tomorrow is Tuesday. So I don't know what I'm working on there, but I will get that sorted out tonight. That was what I meant to talk to my other half about. That's excellent there, Eric. That's always an enjoyable thing to see. But I am going to call it a night, guys. Thank you so very much for sharing your time with me. And I will be back again tomorrow. I think tomorrow I'm going to do something a little weird. Nope. Scratch think. Tomorrow, I'm going to take a look at a topic that some of you guys can relate to. Okay. And I think, no, not think. Tomorrow is Tuesday. So, quite simply, put your gaming hat on. I'm going to go over some of the characters I've run in the past and where they've led to, what kinds of things we were looking at. Bear in mind, some of these characters are from Dungeons and Dragons, from Aftermath, from Star Frontiers, Traveler. I don't know which ones I'm going to be looking at. But tomorrow I'm going to focus. We still play classic D&D. That's the nice part about it. So tomorrow, where are we? Tomorrow is 5th, so we are going to look at tabletop gaming. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with video gaming. I just happen to be a tabletop gamer. So tomorrow, we're going to go completely off kilter and just go down that road. Okay, but Hawk Moon, glad you could join us. Okay, I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.